The ego doesn't let go easily. It anchors itself in survival fear at the root. It chases sensation and pleasure in the sacral. It accumulates status and willpower in the solar plexus. It armors the heart against connection. It controls and curates every word before it leaves the throat. It filters everything that enters perception through the lens of what it already believes. And at the crown, it resists the one thing that would dissolve it entirely, the recognition that it was never the whole story. Epictetus called that grip the failure of assent. The moment when an impression arrives, and instead of pausing to examine it, you agree. You agree that the threat is real. You agree that the pleasure is necessary. You agree that the status matters. You agree that the armor is justified. And in that agreement, without even realizing it, you hand your freedom to whatever just happened. Epictetus was born into slavery and became one of the most influential philosophers in history. Not because he gained power, because he understood something about freedom that the people who owned him never did. True freedom is not the absence of external constraint. It is sovereignty over the one thing no one can take from you, your own assent. And that sovereignty, applied through each of the 7 energy centers, is what this video is about. Drop this in the comments before you keep watching. I do not control what arrives. I control what I agree to let it mean. Say it before you hear the rest. Before we go further, I want to be clear about what this video is and what it is not. Epictetus never used the language of chakras. The Stoic tradition and the yogic tradition developed thousands of miles apart in completely different cultures with completely different frameworks. I am not saying they are the same thing. I am not saying the Stoics were doing chakra work. What I am saying is this. When you place these two bodies of wisdom side by side and look at what they are actually describing, they are pointing at the same truth from different directions. One tradition mapped the inner life through the language of energy centers. The other mapped it through the language of rational discipline and perception. This video bridges those two systems. A deliberate synthesis, built to give you something more useful than either tradition alone. That is what this channel does. Ancient discipline. Awakened energy. Both at once. The first 3 chakras are where the ego does most of its work. Muladhara, the root, governs survival, safety, stability, the primal need to belong and to persist. When it is blocked, the world feels fundamentally threatening. Every change is a danger. Every uncertainty is evidence that the ground beneath you is not solid. The ego responds with one instruction: hold on tighter. Svadhisthana, the sacral, governs desire, pleasure, creativity, emotional flow, the appetite for experience. When it is blocked or overactive, desire becomes the engine of decision-making. You pursue what feels good in the moment and avoid what feels uncomfortable, regardless of whether either choice moves you toward anything real. Manipura, the solar plexus, governs personal power, ambition, will, identity, the fire of self-assertion. When it is unbalanced, power becomes about status, about how you appear, about winning in the comparison to whoever is standing next to you. Epictetus addressed all 3 of these in his first and foundational discipline, the discipline of desire. In the Enchiridion, he wrote that people are disturbed not by things themselves, but by their opinions about them. The root fear is an opinion about safety. The sacral craving is an opinion about what you need to feel whole. The solar plexus's hunger for status is an opinion about what makes a person worthy. None of those opinions arrived as facts. They arrived as impressions, and you assented to them. The Stoic practice for the lower triad is not suppression. Epictetus was not telling you to stop wanting things. He was telling you to examine what you have agreed to want and to ask, is this actually in my power? Is this coming from a clear place, or from fear, from genuine desire, or from the ego's running commentary on what it needs to feel safe? That examination is the beginning of energetic freedom. Not the absence of desire, the sovereignty over which desires you actually agree to follow. The heart chakra, anahata, is the bridge. Below it, the energy is personal, survival, pleasure, power. All of it is about the self and its relationship to the immediate world. Above it, the energy opens into something larger, expression, perception, unity. But the heart is where the transition happens. And it is the most vulnerable crossing point. Here is what Epictetus understood about the heart that most people miss. He taught a second discipline, the discipline of appropriate action, the kathekon, doing what is fitting for who you are and where you are in the whole, not what maximizes your pleasure, not what protects your status. What is actually called for in this moment, in relation to the people in front of you. That is not a cold instruction, it is a compassionate one. When you act from duty rather than from ego defense, the armor around the heart loosens. You stop needing every interaction to confirm that you are safe, valued, and winning. You can be present to another person without calculating what the presence costs you. Rational discipline and radical compassion are not opposites. They are the same impulse pointed in two different directions. Epictetus had both. He loved his students with relentless intensity. He also refused to let them off the hook. That combination is what an open heart actually looks like. Not soft and unguarded, but clear and fully present. The ego wants the heart to stay armored. It tells you that openness is danger, that vulnerability is weakness, that loving without conditions is a transaction you cannot afford. Epictetus would call that a failure of assent. You have agreed to the ego's terms without examining whether they are true. They are not true. The open heart is not the unprotected heart. It is the heart that has chosen, deliberately, what it agrees to let in. The upper three chakras are where the discipline of assent operates at its fullest. Vishuddha, the throat, governs expression. When it is clear, you say what is true, not what is safe, not what will be received well, what is real. Epictetus wrote, "Let silence be your general rule, or say only what is necessary and in few words." The discipline of expression is not about silence for its own sake. It is about refusing to assent to the pressure to perform. The throat chakra is free when your words come from clarity, not from anxiety about how they will land. Ajna, the third eye, governs perception. This is the seat of the discipline of assent in its most direct form. Every impression arrives here first. Every judgment begins here. Epictetus spent his entire teaching life on this single point. The moment between the impression and the response is where your entire freedom lies. If you can learn to pause in that space and ask whether the impression is accurate, whether your judgment is clear or clouded, you will have done the most important work of your inner life. Sahasrara, the crown, governs unity, the dissolution of the separation between the individual self and the whole. For Epictetus, this was the recognition that you are a part of the logos, the rational principle that moves through all things, and that your freedom is not the freedom of the ego to get what it wants. It is the freedom of the rational soul to fulfill its nature within the whole. When all three are open, you are no longer operating from the ego's frantic defense of its own position. You express clearly, perceive accurately, and act as a conscious participant in something much larger than yourself. That is what Epictetus meant by the sovereign self, not the self that dominates, the free self. This is a single practice you can apply at any point in the chakra system. Whenever you notice yourself in reaction, which is the signal that an impression has arrived and the ego has already agreed to it, stop. 2 seconds. No longer. And ask 3 questions. First, what just arrived? Name the event as plainly as possible. A fact, not a story. Second, what did I agree to about it? Name the judgment that attached to the fact. This is where the ego's opinion lives. Third, is that agreement mine to make? Is this judgment based on what is actually in my power? Or am I assenting to something that was never mine to control? That third question is the gate to every chakra. Applied to the root, it dissolves survival fear without factual basis. Applied to the sacral, it separates genuine desire from compulsive craving. Applied to the solar plexus, it clarifies the difference between real purpose and ego-driven status hunger. Applied to the heart, it opens the space between armor and openness. Applied to the throat, it filters performance from truth. Applied to the third eye, it strips distorted impressions from plain reality. Applied to the crown, it releases the ego's last argument against unity. 3 questions, 2 seconds. Every time. That is the Epictetan path through the 7 chakras. Not a complicated system. A single, sovereign practice. Drop this in the comments. My freedom is not the absence of difficulty. It is the sovereignty of my own response. If this is the kind of synthesis you have been looking for, ancient Stoic philosophy applied directly to your energetic health, subscribe to The Awakened Stoic. This channel exists at the intersection of Stoic discipline and chakra wisdom. We do not choose between logic and spirituality. We use both. Every video goes deeper into what it actually looks like to live with that kind of alignment. Hit subscribe and come back for the next one. Epictetus owned nothing. He had no empire, no army, no position. He was a formerly enslaved person who walked with a limp and taught in a small school in northwestern Greece. And he understood something about inner freedom that most people who have everything never figure out. Freedom is not a circumstance, it is a practice. It lives in the gap between impression and judgment, between stimulus and response, between what arrives and what you agree to let it mean. And that gap runs through every layer of who you are, from the root of your survival to the crown of your consciousness. The 7 chakras are not 7 separate problems to solve. They are 7 expressions of the same question Epictetus returned to every day of his life. What am I ascending to right now? And is that agreement worthy of the freedom I actually have? You were not born into bondage, you were born into the practice of asking that question. The Awakened Stoic. Ancient discipline, awakened energy. The ego